It's a pleasure to be here today. Thank you all for your attention and for holding space. I know that it's been a little bit of time without a break, but I promise you a good story. I'm going to tell a little bit about us, and I don't want this to be too much about, about who we are and what we do and talk about the products and all that, because this isn't about me. This is about all of you. And I want to ground our story back in our onset as a company, which is that we had a really strange idea. Close to 10 years ago, I was having a conversation with a friend about how strange it was that food in America was evolving and that seemingly every part of the grocery store had something better. We heard from Hamdi this morning, who was pioneering organic and natural yogurt. When we looked at cage-free eggs or grass-fed beef, everything apparently seemed to be moving forward into a direction where people were demanding more from their food. But we noticed something really strange, which is that ketchup hadn't been evolved in 70 years. It really resembled more of an industrial product than a food product, and it was completely dominated by Heinz. And this was really strange to us, and so we got to work, and we wondered what would it look like to create a ketchup that was in line with the way that we wanted to eat and in line with the way that America wanted to eat. And so we thought about it first from the inside out. And we said, okay, well, to create a better ketchup, something that is in line with the future, let's start with whole tomatoes instead of concentrate. Let's start with real sugar instead of high fructose corn syrup. Let's put less sugar in it so that it's more nutritious. And you'll notice that it looks different than most ketchup. It looks different than Heinz because we recognize that even if it was the tastiest, most delicious, most nutritious ketchup in the world, it needed to attract attention because grocery stores are a battlefield for attention. So the packaging was going to be really important. And to do that, we said, let's do everything the exact opposite of Heinz. If Heinz was in plastic, we would be glass. If Heinz was squirted, we would be scooping. Our original jars had wide mouths. And if Heinz was classic Americana and synonymous with the roadside diner and fast food, then we would, of course, be English. So we created this character, this totally fictitious character, Sir Kensington. And Sir Kensington himself was a British knight who studied at Cambridge and Oxford and was in service for the Queen in Constantinople, now known as Istanbul, writing treatise on Ionian chutneys and other spiced sauces, and one day found himself at a salon that he hosted back in the English countryside with the Emperor of Japan, who had brought some Kobe beef, and Catherine the Great, who was in town from Russia. And Catherine the Great said, I would love to try some of this Kobe beef. Do you have any ketchup, Sir Kensington? And of course, Sir Kensington can't serve the stuff with a high fructose corn syrup to Catherine the Great, the Tsaress of Russia. So he runs into the kitchen, and he brews up a batch of Sir Kensington's ketchup. And our story was now available in your local grocer. And we started, as every entrepreneur starts, the recognition that, forget that title entrepreneur, when you begin a company, you're a salesperson. And of course, we learned that the hard way. We went up and down the street. We went to restaurants. We went to retailers. Shout out to the Whole Foods team. I know that you're all over this room. Thank you for all your support. Thank you all the restaurants who helped put us on tables and start introducing our product to different eaters, different shoppers. And after 3 years of doing this, we had gotten a couple placements. We had reached a little bit of success. We certainly weren't self-sustaining. But most importantly, we realized that even though we were able to get this thing off the ground with a better product that we believed in, something that we were proud of, we weren't really breaking through in culture. And in order to break through in culture, we needed to think differently. So it was this challenge, and it was also a lot of introspection that made us realize that great companies, great organizations, great brands, whatever you want to call them, they're really good at telling stories. And they're really good at engaging people, not in the what, which is what we were doing, right? We followed everyone's advice and we said, look, it's all natural, there's less sugar. And the chefs would say, I'm sure it tastes great, don't call me, I'll call you. And of course, they never called. We realized that we needed to think about why we were doing what we were doing and establish what we've talked about so much in this room is a sense of purpose. And we asked the question, why is it that we, after all this time, are still doing this? Why does our team come to work in the morning? And after a lot of listening, polling, and conversations, we realized that we were here for the purpose around a belief that food is the most powerful human connector. And to protect that superpower, we all work to defend the dignity of food. Right? The dignity of food, which has been under attack in our industrialized food system, all its challenges on society and the environment, and the dignity of food, not just in the food itself, which of course has no feelings, but in the lives of the people that actually touch and work in food. And to build on that, we built a set of values that represents our team's belief. First, our secret ingredient is people. 2, we act with honor even when no one is looking. 3, we put special sauce on everything. And 4, we think long-term, yet act in short order. And the team loved it. We were able to attract and retain talent. We started attracting more press attention. It resonated with restaurants. It resonated with retailers. All of a sudden, we were feel-good millennial products and brands that everyone was hungry for in a society that was so fraught with challenge. And we developed product values. If we don't love it, we don't launch it. If it's not food, it doesn't belong in our food. We're only as good as the company we keep. We went through the incredible self-inspection process of certifying as a B Corp. Shout out Jay and the team there. And we kind of felt like we had arrived. We banned Uline as a supplier to our company because of efforts that they do to stop transgender rights. We banned Uber as a company because of the gender inequity issues they have in their engineering and corporate headquarters. And we even started donating 1% of our revenue to organizations and nonprofits that create economic opportunity through food in our communities. And it started to build. We had this narrative. We had this story. We are a good company. We see the easy decisions between what is right and what is wrong. You know that in joining this company, you can be part of a group of people that does business that's rooted in a sense of purpose and of ethics. Does this sound familiar? Yeah, we've talked about this for the last couple of days. We were really proud, and then we had a realization. We had something that we learned about that was happening in our own house, or really connected to our house, that started to present a new challenge for us, a violation to this narrative, a new story. Avocado oil mayonnaise, which we had come out with as a product line, had reached incredible success. It was one of our most important innovations, one of our biggest business lines, and it seemingly everywhere in the world, people were celebrating the avocado. It was healthy, it was delicious, it was stylish. People were putting it on toast, right? It was this global flavor that everyone was celebrating. But what we realized in the supply chain was that there were a lot of challenges, right? This thing that we all see, the avocado that we celebrate, that's this feel-good, technically it's a fruit. Especially our supply chain, which was not the whole fruit, but it was the oil, was really murky and opaque. And we started learning about all the deforestation challenges that come with any ingredient that has a spiking demand, especially one that's made mostly in developing economies, and in this case, Mexico, was met with a lot of deforestation in how it was planted. And because it's a very high-value crop, there is also a lot of cartel involvement in these supply chains. There are challenges to the worker rights and all the social justice that we talk about that's so important in our own house and for our own team. All of a sudden, we didn't have visibility to that. Of course, we look at opportunities like fair trade, but again, we're not sourcing the fruit itself, we're sourcing the processed oil, which has a much more complex supply chain. And so, to be clear, we didn't identify any specific transgressions or any any of those things that I just mentioned with any strong evidence, but what we did not have was transparency. And what we knew we had was a supply chain that presented challenge that was against our values. So what do? All of a sudden, again, we're a good company. These decisions should be easy, but they're not easy. And I love talking about storytelling, and storytelling is a word that we celebrate. Stories create meetings. Stories inspire your team. Stories inspire your customers. Stories is what brings us all here. And stories are powerful, and stories are simple. And that's the power of the story, but the truth is actually complex. Because stories can flatten things in a way that doesn't appreciate all the different facets. And stories are, in a way, as leaders and as storytellers, we do the thinking for our audience. We do the thinking for our team. And is that conscious capitalism? Recently, a lot of companies' stories are being found out. So Scott Galloway, who's a fantastic marketing strategist, says, the spoon, the baking soda, and the heat that turns overvalued firms into crack is charisma. People who trade liability and their reputation for hundreds of millions, if not billions, to wallpaper ugly truths about a business and its impact on other people and the Commonwealth. And he's talking about WeWork and the promises that they made, Theranos and the promises that they made, until even recently, Facebook told stories, really unabashedly, that they were bringing the world together and connecting people for the greater good. Charisma, storytelling is a form of charisma. And the value that we talk about here is not just financial value, but it's also reputational value. It's also ethical value. And we have to be careful to define the difference between a set of values and a set of purpose that allows us to actually grade ourselves and improve ourselves and engage with the truth versus a story that allows us to believe that we are the good guys and they are the bad guys, right? Which is a powerful story. And so what we did in this moment and recognizing this is, unlike so many decisions in the past, we didn't send a long declarative email saying, we've made a simple solution because this is just the right thing to do. We spent half a day bringing our team into this challenge, giving them a detailed case study that our talented team had prepared, educating them about the size and the shape and the importance of this in our business, and asking them to develop solutions which we could then weigh and stitch together and consider and develop a long-term plan around. And that's the lesson of the shadowed qualities of storytelling, is that it's important to tell stories, but it's also important to make sure that those stories are serving you and you're not just serving those stories. And beyond the storytelling, which is so crucial in the work we do, the most valuable gift that you can give your team is not by giving them the answers with a simple story, but by challenging them to think for themselves. And to know when it's right to tell stories, and to know when it's right to present questions rather than answers so that they can engage, that they can have those same analytical and existential challenges that you go through as a leader to truly develop the resiliency and first principles thinking in your organization. So, thank you.